And then at the same time, I recognize a kind of loneliness. I am isolated. That is a fact, even if I deal with it well. I make the most of it. I understand it. It's how I am. I've been practicing isolation for a long time. I can still feel a part of me as a human being and a social animal enjoying being around other people, even if it's peripherally. Sometimes I just like to observe people having a conversation. It's one of my favourite podcasts, listening to most of Joe Rogan's content. It's just like being in the room with people having just hanging out, but not having to participate. Just listening, enjoying their conversation, and it be okay. It's very nice. It's nice for me. I like it. It makes me feel connected, included, apart, rather than separate. But even if it's been missing for a while and I have it, enjoyable as it might be, I usually very quickly am ready to go back into solitary again. And that was the experience I had in the van mostly. That I could seek and did find, and was surprised by encounters with people already on the Freedom Road, and it was very tempting to connect up with them because safety in numbers and it feels different as a tribe. But once you connect up, then you've got to find which idea you're all going to participate in. Where are we going to be? Where are we going? It just immediately realized it was obvious how unfreedom-like that would be. The freedom for me was to not have to do anything, to not be imposing on anybody else, because I didn't need to do anything in this moment, and that it was okay. Not many people join me in that experience. It's not easy. Everyone has their own ideas about what they might do in this moment, what they could do, what possibilities are here. That's their life, that's their reality. So joining a group of van dwellers never appealed. Making a journey with any, even connecting with one, and I came close to, it was very difficult for me to detach from her. She wanted something from me. I showed her something that she maybe hadn't had before, and she wanted it. And for a moment I thought I needed it, but in fact I didn't. And it became quickly very obvious I didn't even want it. And now I have to avoid it because there is nothing I can do about it. I have to wait for her to disappear, or I have to disappear. But at least van dwellers can make those kind of changes real quick. You meet somebody, don't quite get on, it doesn't feel right, you can just drive off. Now, if I had found, as I had, a place I wanted to stay in, I thought I would be able to stay in, and was staying in, and it was amazing to have that idea that I could just be here. This is waste ground. Nobody cares about it. Many others come and go, even in vehicles like mine. I can just be here. That wasn't to be the case, but at the time that feeling was so liberating, I cannot describe it to you. But if you then get to know somebody who comes there on a regular basis, and then you fall out with them, or you realize you can't get any closer and now have to pull away, and don't want to leave your home, it's very difficult. Yes, you can go away for a bit, and I did, but now I was concerned that when she pulled in, I didn't know how to deal with her. I didn't want to be around her because I wasn't able to tell her clearly, I've had enough, go away, leave me alone. It was too hard. I had opened to her, we had connected, we had shared things, we had eaten together, we had smoked together. She wanted what I had, and I knew it, and I couldn't give it to her anymore. I didn't know how to say no easily, the best way to say no was to not be there to have to answer. And that was unfortunate. I wouldn't do it like that now. I was so needy, so looking for connection, so needing family, so needing people I could be around who could look after me, and I them, but for me to receive the things I struggle with, so that I give them the things that they might struggle with. Sounds like the ideal partnership, you might say. And in principle, perhaps that is true. And yet, actually, the only way I could ever be with anybody would be me being the authentic me, so that they, seeing the authentic me, must be somebody I could be around because they are the authentic them. That's why it was always so difficult for me that I could appear to be, for a short time, a person they wanted to be with. It was easy to subtly promote certain aspects of my personality and withdraw other aspects because they were all me anyway. But those things being missing, too much is missing. Those things being on show, it's not real enough. And so very quickly, who they were, because they were attracted to that part of me that was able to be something that would attract them, I could no longer connect with them because I hadn't been myself. I had been this default setting that seemed able to attract without directly insisting on it, without really seeking it, without making it my absolute focus, almost doing it without looking, so that if somebody actually reached out to me, that they decided they wanted to be with me and felt like they could, that person would be worth spending time with. And while I have had experiences like that in the past, they were from different people because I was a different person too. Whoever, if ever somebody saw me that way and in a way that was actually right, then I wouldn't have any idea what that would be because I would never have experienced it before. So it would just be right. But it may be that the whole concept is being let go of in its entirety, simply because it could never, under any circumstances, work. That doesn't mean I can't be around other people, men and women, but one very important aspect can't be present as a result, wouldn't be present, because the vibration wouldn't be put out, so it wouldn't be received. And if it was put out, it wouldn't be recognized, and it probably would never be put out. That these things now, we've gone beyond, that we are no longer making that the pinnacle of what one must achieve. That have gone way beyond the physical, the need for physical. That there is no point to it. There is no necessity of it. For it. There wasn't before. Even when I found myself going down that road again, I knew that it was going to end in tears. It wasn't horrible, at least not all of it, but I knew it was going to end in tears, and tears it ended in. Many, many tears. So this lesson, now what am I doing now? Here I am in this situation, where I can make it a bit brighter actually. Look at that. Here I am in this lesson where I am, and I have time. I am free to make a decision. I could walk away, just go, let it all go. Not be concerned with what I might get, what might be left to me, what my inheritance is. I trust my sister to sort everything out, and she would, and I get something. But somehow I feel like I ought to be a part of it, that I can be a part of this dissolving thing. And to go would mean actually letting go of Mum, even though she's not gone. I can't let go of Mum if she's not gone. It's still not settled, it's still not sorted. There is still more. So I'm here, I'm very comfortable, I'm very free within my little bubble and my little reality, and even within the world, as scared as many are, as withdrawn, and they're experiencing isolation and withdrawn. They don't have no idea, many of them, what this means to them. It's such a massive change to their normal lifestyle, but a good opportunity. Without having chosen it, they would never have chosen it. They were not choosing it, so they've had to accept it. It's been imposed on them, but you still have to choose it, and the better you choose it, the more you get from it. But this choosing at this time, this experiencing of this at this time, will inform many as to whether or not what they were doing before mattered, whether or not what they were doing before is what they want to continue doing. They've been able to take the time, the moment, the opportunity to think, to feel. Fear really focuses your mind in that moment, and perhaps they see something they haven't seen before, or see it in a different way. So there's a lot of positive that will come from this time. As for me, it's like this life, to have this experience of isolation and solitude without needing a van and going off into the wilderness, actually is it couldn't be better. It couldn't be better to be still free of material expectation and responsibility, while experiencing all the things. I even watch a bit of Sky, which I would never have, recording a BBC thing, because it does it automatically and I can watch it whenever I want. I could watch it before on my laptop via the iPlayer, but it's nice to watch it on the big screen as effortlessly as this modern TV system does. But I don't want it, but I'm even still using that because I can see it has value. It is nice to, so I can enjoy myself. I don't have to act as if none of that matters and I'm attempting to get into an austere, ascetic, renounced state. I'm not at all. I'm okay with making use of anything that I feel benefits or enhances, supports, or makes it easier, more efficient. Whatever that idea is okay by me. I don't limit myself, I don't define myself, I don't label myself, I don't state I'm a this or a that, I only eat this or that. I just am. I just go with how it feels in the moment. If you know who you are, someone who doesn't want to eat meat, for example, you don't have to define yourself as that. I've even come across somebody who I knew was a very spiritual person. She was a vegetarian by choice, but yet she would still eat meat. if it was offered to her as a gift, as she experienced it at a dinner party with I was there. She was able to eat that meat and enjoy it and enjoy it, not have much, but not deny it, not resist it, not decide there was no value in it, while returning to her regular vegetarian diet through her own choice and actions afterwards. That was one of the most enlightened ideas I'd come across, and I did want to be with her as well. I really fancied her. I really knew that I see the goddess in her, yet somehow I was in no way able to make it happen. Circumstances, in order for anything to happen, you have to spend time how to do that and yet continue to be where I was. I didn't want to be where I was, but I couldn't risk, in a sense, letting that go for this idea, this pipe dream, which might not have happened either, and then where am I? And so in this vulnerable, codependent state that I was in, decisions were made, actions were taken or weren't taken, that would have changed things so much had they been. Fortunately for me, I was able to accept that I had not acted or made known and let go, because the moment was past. There's nothing I can do now. If I clearly wasn't ready or up to, or couldn't even put myself out there, I was so vulnerable, I couldn't simply just make it obvious, just speak the truth of it. And I didn't deserve to have it, but I had a feeling that she was open to me too, and she was a good woman. She would have got me involved in voluntary stuff and making things for the parades, and she was just a good person. I couldn't have helped but be in her world, and so it would have been very good for me. And I couldn't tell her. I couldn't write it. I couldn't say it to her. I couldn't do it because the weight of who I was with and how I was with them and what was taking place when I wasn't around her, and I'd only seen her a few times. I knew she was a strong and independent and powerful woman. She had a child, she'd had relationships, but she wasn't in a relationship, and I found her very attractive, very beautiful on so many levels. I just couldn't express it at all. I couldn't manifest it. I couldn't show it. I just couldn't. And I didn't suffer from it because I knew I couldn't. So I didn't beat myself up about it. Oh, I've missed out. There's my goddess. There's my woman. Maybe I did. But it doesn't matter, because that was what it was. It had to be the way it was. It couldn't have been any other way. So much of how I see other people was simply how I saw them. It wasn't anything to do with how they actually were, what they actually thought or felt. But within me, it was so clear, it was so obvious to me, there was no doubt about what was going on, what they thought, what they felt. It just fit in the responses to how I was experiencing and feeling inside. Those responses, those words, those actions matched perfectly. So I had nothing, there was nothing for me to doubt about it. And yet it turned out that so much of them was in me, that I was seeing myself projected onto them, who I wanted them to be, who I thought they were or could be or would be. But that seeing, in a sense, left out one very important and very crucial part. who they actually were would be who they were going to be, what they were going to do, where they were going, and that had nothing to do with me. And in order for it to have something to do with me, they would have to completely and totally fall in love with me. And then, when someone completely and totally falls in love, they're open to anything and everything you say. In fact, nothing has to exist that doesn't include them. Everything, for me, everything then is enhanced by just having the person I'm in love with participate in it with me. Go, eat, do, see, everything is enhanced by having that person with me because of the way I feel about them. But when that feeling somehow suddenly disappears, because it was not actually a real thing in itself, enhanced by mood-altering, brain-altering substances naturally produced or as involved with other substances that I was taking in to stimulate and change my perspective, all of that created a scenario that somehow couldn't stay. And without it, without that boost, without that feeling involved in it, now that I've spent so much time connecting and meeting and being and doing and loving and giving and caring and showing and listening, and now that I've done all of that, I don't know how to carry on. I'm not the same. It's changed. I can't do it anymore. I don't feel it anymore. It's different. I'm willing to carry on. I still see. I like you. We connected. We're friends. We're in each other's lives now. We're interdependent. We're doing it together. So let's carry on. It doesn't change that I'm still going down that road, but it just changes that feeling that was there. That meant that no matter what happened, it didn't matter. As long as we were doing it together, as long as we were together, nothing else mattered. Now, suddenly, again, other things matter again. I suddenly take my attention and focus it out of her to something else. Something else now matters to me. And I don't know how to... balance that. And in not always choosing her, as I had always done before, she now notices something is missing because I'm no longer choosing her, which she was used to being, she was used to feeling. She got used to feeling chosen, to be loved like that, which she hadn't had before. Or it doesn't matter if you've had it before, having it now is all that matters. Suddenly it's not there. Suddenly I'm choosing something else or being with someone else. And now we're into the complicated idea of what does it mean to be committed? What does it mean to be two individual, free, thinking different human beings who are choosing to be together? How much can one expect the other to simply no longer express or explore the feelings that they have? Isn't it limiting? Isn't it interfering ultimately? And isn't it ultimately the cause of things parting? But if you've spent 20 years with somebody and you have children and there are financial assets, it's much more difficult to make that separation. The first time with Sarah, we never got married. There was never any need. Sarah never needed to, and I had no need to. And wasn't interested in the state's, the society's look at that, the way it feels to be it. I gave up and let go of some rights as a result, but it never ultimately mattered. Whereas with Justine, because of my situation, because I was there illegally, and it certainly would help her feel more secure, and we could start the process of actually making me legal, even though I really didn't like living there. We got married. Simply. So efficiently, so easily, so right in many ways, even though there was so much underneath it that wasn't right. And I knew it. But somehow, I arrogantly maybe, or naively, or stupidly thought I could deal with it anyway, that it wouldn't matter, that we would still make it work, because we both seemed committed to doing so, no matter what, in sickness and in health. Those kind of ideas, even though never said vows, I still recognized the sanctity, the idea of marriage and the commitment of it, and was willing to, as I'd always been in many ways, willing to continue as long as I could still see a possible way to make it work. And I never gave up. I would never give up normally. I've never given up before. Not really. Most of the time I'm not giving up. I'm continuing. Even when it's got to the point where it's just kind of getting something and you're just getting security or support, and I'm no longer able to give because so much time has gone by without that feeling. How can I truly give what it is I would need to give? I need that feeling. But it wasn't with me. Even with Sarah, it just went. And with Justine, it stayed a lot longer, and it even started to make me feel like, well, maybe it isn't going to go. Maybe I am going to be able to do this with this person, even though we're having these difficulties and we shouldn't be, and it's making me feel very bad. I was willing to overcome that, overlook that feeling, and I don't have to see it as a red flag warning sign. I can change, she can change, it can change. We're evolved enough, we're advanced enough. We can talk. Turns out we couldn't talk. Not about us. And I could only talk to other people, and it wasn't good enough. And she could only talk to other people, and it wasn't good enough. So the things that we actually needed to hear, we could never say to each other. Clearly our lives were separating, and this was just the painful process of detaching from the attachment one had put in place for ultimately the wrong reasons. Can't be like that with another human being. And I don't know how to be any other way. And friends, when I've had them, where it hasn't led to physical intimacy, there's always the possibility of it, you could say. It's always possible. And perhaps unrequited sexual tension, it can be very interesting to play with for a while, but ultimately it's not satisfying. It's only playful. But it takes me down a road that actually I have to come back from. It's not where I want to be. I'm not a player out there looking for the one, but having fun playing with many who aren't. It may be that there isn't just one, but in a way for me there would have to be only one. Could be that the one is God. That's my one. Why people who connect with the idea of Jesus feel like, like a nun is the bride of Jesus, bride of Christ, that there is no other. But for me, there's no visual image. God being all that is, the universe. That part of me, the subconscious, the bit that is the bit that I am also. And that'd be enough. It used to be. I knew what it used to mean to recognize that connection as being all I needed, all I wanted. But the temptation of physical pleasure the ultimate physical pleasure for most is the sexual union between two consenting adults in lust, in love, just wanting each other in that moment. For most people, for many people, that's the height of physical feeling. And we're in the physical, we're physical people, so that must be all there is. That must be the best there can be. Not for me. Not for me. But it could be that, because even, well, you could say, even if I've never truly been with the one, then I can't really know what it would feel like to be with the one. But for the most part, having been with other ones, the sexual feeling, the sexual thing isn't something I want to participate in. Quite quickly after having quite a bit of it, I've had enough. It doesn't do it. And I remember that there's something that goes beyond the physical, and now I'm stuck, especially if I'm sleeping next to somebody who, has a right to expect intimacy still. And what do you say to somebody? How do you tell somebody when you feel that it's not you, it's nothing to do with you, it's me, and them not take it as a personal, not feel personally affected by it, not feel like something that they really want is missing, and not be able to recover from it, not be able to just it be good enough, just knowing that we are together, that this is what I have to do right now, maybe this is what I have to do. But we can still be together, we can still be pals, partners, friends, I can still look after you, love you, but we just can't do that. I can't give you that. I can't make love. I can't have sex. You can't use me to relieve yourself, and I shouldn't use you to relieve me. I shouldn't want that. I can't want that. It lowers my energy. It takes it away. It interferes with what I'm doing. I can't explain it properly. It doesn't make sense if I try. And there's a part of me that doesn't want to throw it away, because I've always liked it. I've always liked having options. It's so messy. It's so sticky. It's so complicated. It's so soiledness. I don't like it. It interferes with me. I much prefer to just lie still with my love and just be next to her. Our fingers just touch, and both of us are absolutely content with that. I once thought, when I made love to Sarah for the first time, with the idea of Emily as a possibility, without intentionally taking protection, choosing to be a father if that was what was to come from this. I also had the idea that that should be the only time I should do it. That in conceiving her, but not continuing to be full of lust and desire for her mum, who was to be the mother of Emily but not my wife, that would have changed our relationship. We would have been able to either do it together, because Sarah was up for that. She was up for brother and sister. We should be brother and sister now. Very interesting that moment was, and I dismissed it because we'd only just made love, and this was my soulmate, and I'd called Emily, and we were going to be her parents. So no, I wanted to be with you. I wanted to be with her sexually, continuously. I wanted the freedom to be able to touch her, to want her, because she was my wife. That's how I felt of her, even though we never actually married. Was she my wife? It's all in the head anyway. It's all in the mind. And yet, sex has been a powerful thing for me. It has corrupted me. It has moved me into perversion, paraphilia, voyeurism, abuse. never liked it. I knew that doing it wasn't right, but somehow also felt I could. It was okay. There are consequences. You can't always know what those consequences are until you experience the thing that produces them. So in another way, it's safer for me not to be involved with somebody else. I'm not likely to be corrupted. I'm not likely to be tempted into an act that I really should not want to do. Perhaps if I was with the one, the love, that feeling of having found the one, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't need to. I would be able to rise above it. I can't know. But just to be with someone attractive who is open to me, I would have to have intention. I would have to show that intention. And I don't have intention. Even if I have thoughts, just like any other red-blooded man might, that doesn't mean I have to identify with them. It doesn't mean I have to continue to think them or act on them. And then they go away. And it keeps me in a more centered, balanced self-state that I need to be in to know who I am and be who I am and act as I am in every situation. Obviously, I get tested, and obviously it isn't a test if I know it's coming or what it's likely to be. And yet, even when I find myself just going that way because it seems like that's the way the river's flowing, I am still aware of something inside that says, you're still choosing this, and you could choose something else. And it would be okay to make a different choice. It's so small a voice, I just almost don't hear it, almost don't notice, don't want to hear it. And perhaps that small voice is the real me. It's the real thing I need to see. I know that I've made some strange choices in my life, and I've acted on the premise that following my excitement was only dependent on feeling excited. That it didn't matter what it was. As long as I felt excited by it, then that must be right. So I have to make it happen as much as it's possible, because that's the signal, that's the sign. I feel that this is right. The moment that I insist that it happen a certain way, I'm on the road to ruin. I'm lost. I'm about to lose myself again into the idea of the reality. And that's what happened when I finally moved in with Justine. And the first moment when I'm out in her old car, which doesn't have a back seat, but I am sitting in the back nevertheless. And her daughter is in the front seat, and whenever her daughter was there, I always sat in the back, and I always chose it. It was okay. And at first, the three of us were just inseparable. We went out together so that we were just a family. And I realised with their music playing loud, coffee drinking, going to Starbucks, going into supermarkets, going into department stores, retail therapy that they did, makeup, jewellery, clothes, visual look, that they were, I had no idea why I was there. Why am I with people who were like that? Justine could never, always had to have makeup on. She always felt the need for it. It gave her a little more of what she needed. But the fact that she needed it was a problem to me. The fact that she couldn't go out without it. The fact that her body image was so messed up that she couldn't even let me see her naked and feel and be at ease with it. What was I doing there? How am I to fit in? I don't want to drink their coffee or buy their things or listen to that music. And yet I'm saying I'm like you. I want you. I'm choosing you. So therefore I must want that. And I didn't want that. So what was I doing choosing you? What was I doing letting you choose me? And me responding as if that was what I wanted. What I wanted was to let go of where I was, and that influenced that must have influenced that so much that while it took a long time to realize I'd made the wrong choice, and by then I was very ensconced into there was no way out, living with a pit bull. But I made those decisions, so how fucked up must I have been that was what I thought I wanted? And yet I don't regret it, and yet I had wonderful experiences, I did amazing things and had lots of fun in amongst the exact opposite. It was nothing if not our whole life just wrapped up in a short time. In, experience everything, out. So that's why I'm not suffering by not having it. The moments of missing or old energy connection re-establishing through remembrance doesn't last, doesn't linger. I have said a few things to people, made recordings, written a few things, audio and visual, to people to get stuff out when I was struggling with what it was I felt, what I did. How do you deal with if you discover that you've made a bad decision, made the wrong choice? Because remember, there's a way out of seeing it as wrong, but at that time you feel like you've made the wrong choice. There must be something really deep and meaningful that you need to learn from it. Otherwise you just live with regret, and that makes no sense. So you have to understand why you made those choices so that you can forgive yourself for making those choices and let go of the fact that you did. Recognize that actually as a result of making those choices, something else took place that wouldn't otherwise have. I know that I would not avoid the opportunity to see Justine again, to meet her one more time, to spend time with her, to spend some time with her and see who we are when that happens. I would definitely, I think that's a good thing. Whether or not it continues after that I don't have any insistence on. That's not important, because we would just both know. Even if the experience wasn't horrible, even if it was nice to have it, we would still just both know that that was it, that we were done. Or we would both know that there was something else. The van, me having a van, would definitely make that a possibility for sure, because there would be room for a visit for sure, and I would be in the right place for it, and I would be able to drive up and pick up and drive back, and it would be the most wonderful experience for me to drive somewhere. I think she would enjoy a wonderful experience to go back to the train, even to take the train, so I wouldn't even have to necessarily drive. Actually, the train would make more sense. She's done it before. And then to be in Penzance, to be in Cornwall, to go to Tintagel, to go to anywhere and have our home with us. The feeling of freedom that would come from it would allow playfulness with my friend, assuming that she's that person, of course. It would depend on who that person was when I met her, what had changed as a result of what had happened. If it ever happens, I definitely feel I would not be reluctant, I would not refuse it, I would not be afraid of it if it ever happens. It may not happen, And I don't think it would be me who instigated it. Certainly not as I'm sitting here right now. Yeah. I can't even have that sort of excited hope that, oh, when this is over, there could be some money for me and I could actually make a choice of something I would never have imagined I'd be able to live in. And it would be perfect just for me, the right thing for me. Because I made a choice, I could choose it, there was no rush. When I bought my little van, there was a rush. I had to make the choice real quick, and I rejected it. I took a 2 or 3 hour train ride to see it, and I knew it was the right thing, and everything about getting it was right, except I couldn't quite. And I said, and I was able to say no, but leave a little bit of a deposit so that no one else, she wouldn't sell it to anybody else. And then I had to go back the next day with Sarah, so we both had to make the journey to make sure that I wasn't alone so that I could actually get it. But I had no time and I wasn't sure, and it seemed so perfect, and I'd already seen it, and it's hard to know. 2 timelines, so obvious. Right, not right. Do it, don't do it. I needed it. It was perfect when I had to leave Sarah, but somehow, if I had not had gone back, if I had let it go, then maybe just something else would have come along. That's all. Perhaps better, perhaps not. Perhaps it became easier for Sarah to actually find the strength to finally end it with me, because she knew that I had the van. If I didn't have the van, it might have been harder for her. She already had me leave once when Emily was very little, to leave St. Just and find a flat in Penzance, and I did it. She didn't even think I would do it, but I just did it. To have me leave again and find I would never have found a place to live. I would have had to have gone, and that would have been much harder for all of us. So to go in a ready-made vehicle that's parked right outside, that can look after me and keep me warm in the winter and provide me with electricity, even if I'm not driving, was exactly what needed to be. So if everything is happening in the way that it's supposed to happen, even if it's not obvious, even if there are seemingly choices, in a sense there aren't choices, there are just possible parallel realities, but the choice in a sense that is made is the one that has to be made for this reality. It's not so clear to put the feeling of this into words, but maybe you get the idea. I get the idea, so you get the idea. It's exciting to be able to go out into the world again and be supported in it and feel supported by it. Not need certain things, not have to have somewhere to be, somewhere to put my stuff, something, route. The route is so difficult. I've walked everywhere, I've been everywhere, I know it. It's familiar, and that's great in many ways, but also I need unknown. I need challenge. I need new, difference, change. The van, even though I didn't use it as fully as I could have done last time, there was a lot more possibility and potential change that I chose not to take. I understand how free living in a van can be, would be. And I can see that actually its possibility may be something that can happen without me having to do a thing. I just have to allow what is to be. And if that is the choice that I get to make. Wonderful, grateful, appreciative, thankful, blessed. I can't hold it here. I can't hold on to it. I can't imagine it. I can't attach myself to the idea that that's how it has to be, because it's too limiting to do that, when there could be something else even better that I cannot even possibly imagine, that I would resist if I'm too attached to what I think is where I need to go. It could be that that's what happens, and even in a way I can't imagine yet. To be able to feel that gratitude, that humility at experiencing and discovering the potential of what is going on and seeing it all coming into place, that doesn't happen often.